tell us a little bit about Jada Systems and the work that you do to support JPL?
Okay, yes. First of all, good morning to everyone, or good afternoon to everyone. We'd like to start off by saying thank you very much to JPL. As a small business, we are a part of JPL's Small and Large Business Council. I'd like to say thank you to AeroDef for putting this conference on, and also to Ms. Mary Helen Ruiz for giving us the opportunity to talk to you about our related experience in contracting. My name is Troy Davis. I'm the president and CEO of Jada Systems. Jada Systems is a small minority-owned IT services company. We've been in business for roughly 20 years.
Wow.
20 years. I said roughly because our start was pretty rough. We got started 20 years ago, 1998, 1999, in IT services. This was right about the time that you had a lot of companies up in Silicon Valley, like eBay, Amazon, AOL.com, Yahoo. Silicon Valley was really hungry for engineers, for software engineers. So we got our start out in Silicon Valley. And at that time in Silicon Valley, basically anybody who could spell IT could get a contract. And that's how we got our first contract out in Silicon Valley. So, and what we did out in Silicon Valley was we were software engineers. I know this forum here doesn't, I don't think there's many software engineers out here, but from the small business perspective, that's how we got our start. Later on, unbeknownst to us, the .com industry went upside down 3 months after we went out to Silicon Valley and started working. So the .coms went bust, and everybody heard the term of .bomb. So we went from .com to .bomb. All the contractors in Silicon Valley were laid off. Our company that we had just formed out in Silicon Valley, we were let go. Our contract was terminated. It was terminated, and we didn't even receive our last milestone payment. So we were out on the street, and we were trying to figure out how do we bridge the gap? What do we do next? And so what we did next is we came to an event similar to this, and we met the small business liaison. And at the time, it was a gentleman by the name of Tom May. Tom May has recently passed on. Tom had gave us a lot of advice on what to do as far as getting into JPL from a small business perspective. And so what he told us to do was to come up with develop a business plan, went back, gave him our business plan. He told us to reach out to a large company that had just won a contract with JPL, and that was Raytheon. So we went over to Raytheon under the JPL Small Business Office direction, talked to Raytheon, told Raytheon what our core capabilities were. Raytheon turned around and gave us a contract, and that's how we started working with JPL. It's on Raytheon's DSIO contract.
So can you define the DSIO for us and tell us a little bit about that contract?
Okay, the DSIO contract started roughly 20 years ago, and we've been on that contract for 19 years. We started on that contract. When we started, it was one person, and that person was me. Now at Raytheon, this is the facility in Pasadena. We started with one person. Now we are the largest contractor for Raytheon in the Pasadena facility. But to answer your question, DSIO stands for Data Systems Implementation and Operations Contract. And so what we do on that contract for JPL is we perform in the areas of systems integration and test, and that's for software. We perform in the areas of database administration, that's Oracle Database Administration. We also perform in the areas of web development. We've worked on the Mars and Cassini websites for JPL. And so it's a long-term contract. It's been going for 20 years, and we're happy to be a part of that. And by the way, there are some new areas and new capabilities that the DSIO contract is going into, and one of the gentlemen out here had mentioned that. He had mentioned the augmented reality and virtual reality. Well, right now, JPL and the technologies that they're getting into now are really huge into machine learning, virtual reality, and augmented reality. And us as a company, Jada Systems, we have some engineers that are working on some new concepts that we're going to be presenting JPL here in the future.
Awesome. So there's an opportunity for teaming. So anyone with augmented reality and those type of capabilities, please connect with Troy after this discussion. Thank you for that information. I actually learned something. I'd like to now ask you if you can give us maybe 3 items that a small business should keep in mind when performing on a contract, not necessarily on your contract, any contract.
Keep in mind, I would say, first of all, to keep in mind, once you obtain a contract, I would say be agile, okay? If your customer has a need, as a small business, the onus is up to you to make sure that you can answer your customers' needs. We also have aside from JPL, I'm sorry, but we also have a contract with the city of Pasadena. And we have employees at the city of Pasadena. And we are located right down the street from Pasadena. And we've had some issues come up with some of our employees. The city manager walks right down to our office and he talks to us. We are accessible, we're available to them. And so I would say, as a small business, you make sure that you're accessible and you're available and you're agile for your customer.
Thank you for that. That seems like a pretty simple thing to do. I'm sure that it is a challenge for some small businesses, but just being flexible in your time and in your schedule, I think will pay off in the end. I can give you another example of a small business that would go to monthly meetings in Denver, from California to Denver. Once a month, they would fly out and participate in this multi-award contract. So they were there with 2 other companies, small businesses, and all of a sudden, these other 2 small businesses stopped attending these management meetings, and there was only 1 small business left in the room, and as a result, they were handed over the entire contract. So again, meeting your commitments, again, is very important. Be flexible. Are there any other marketing tips that you can give to our companies seeking business with JPL or a large prime?
As far as seeking to do business with JPL, okay, I would suggest, well, right now you're already doing part of that. You're here at this conference. The big thing is that I've seen a lot of companies, mistakes a lot of companies make. They'll walk around to these booths, they'll hand out a business card, and then they think just because they had a conversation that business is going to call you back. Okay? That's typically not going to happen. These businesses are not going to call you back. Trust me, we've been there. We've been to conferences, we've talked to several people, we thought we had a great connection when we talked to these folks. Waiting for the phone to ring, it doesn't happen. I mean, you can just do the math. If there's 1,000 people here, 25% of the people visit these booths, that means that each one of these companies here is going to get 250 business cards. Your business card is going to be one of 250. And if you think they will remember you and call you, I think you'll be disappointed at the end of the day. So my advice would be to always follow up when you make a connection.
Thank you for that. Those pearls of wisdom, as Tom May used to call those. Any questions at this point for Troy that you'd like to ask? Anything about where his next steps, where is he going after this contract? What other pearls of wisdom he can pass on to you from his experience? And again, it's not necessarily fit into the fabrication, manufacturing arena, but some of these, what he's bringing today actually will fit into any large prime, into any small business, and whatever your capability is. the process is still the same, remains the same. Yes, sir.
How do you deal with liability and cybersecurity of a small company that might be responsible for huge losses of a large client?
Okay, so the question had to do with cybersecurity and the liability, and how do you perform? How do you protect?
A large client and yourself.
Yes. And how do you provide protection for your client? Is the question.
Okay, how do we protect our large client, and how do we deal with cybersecurity? That's a very good question. Within JPL, JPL does a very good job of making sure that all of their subcontractors adhere to all the ITAR standards, and before even making a connection to their network, there is VPN, so you can't just get on their network and without proper security in place. So we go through VPN as far as our security, and once inside the firewall, then that's JPL's internal security, cyber security people. So on the outside getting in, it's VPN.
Business risk. You're a supplier, and you're responsible for a breach.
Oh, okay.
You have liability to cover.
Yes, that's a good question. If you are a supplier, how do you deal with a breach? Good question.
Very good question.
That is liability. That's cybersecurity insurance. We pay a big premium for that. The city of Pasadena makes us or mandates that we have a large cybersecurity insurance package in place if something like that happens. So we haven't had anything like that take place, but I would refer back to our insurance.
Does that answer the question? Okay. Any other questions for Troy at this point? Anyone? If not, if you'd like to reserve your question, we will be at the JPL booth, hopefully for the remainder of today. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, don't want to come between you and your lunch. But again, we're at the JPL booth, number B114, and before we leave you, I'd like to ask if you can bring back the slide. It's possible to bring back the slide for us, the opening slide. So I was hoping I would get a question about this slide. Does anyone have any idea of what this is? It's a little different. I had decided between a photo of JPL and this photo. Any clue? I know you can read the bottom to see what it is. Yes, sir.
So I've been on the grass at the Rose Bowl, and I don't remember seeing that there when I was
That's
there.
right. So this gentleman has been to the Rose Bowl before for the games and has never seen this antenna in the middle of the football field. So the reason for bringing this is just because you don't see it every day. What this is a 70-meter antenna. It's one of several antennas. We have smaller ones, larger ones at our Goldstone facility in Barstow, California. And just to give you a rough size of how huge this is, it does fit in the middle of a football field. And you can certainly tour this facility and learn more about these antennas and what they do and why they're there. So I'll leave that research and investigation to you, but I will let you know that this is a network of antennas around the world, and they are strategically set so that way JPL can maintain constant communication with the spacecraft at any given time. So it's the Deep Space Network, the DSN, and this particular photo will hopefully remind you ever see it again, which I believe it is at Goldstone. But again, we receive commands, send commands, receive data in order to communicate with our spacecraft. So with that, I think we'll end the session. I thank you for your time and for being here and for doing your due diligence to get opportunities, build your relationships. Again, we're at the JPL booth, and everyone enjoy your lunch. Thank you.